Hi. I want to start by telling you that this video is about my customer service experience with Spectrum. I spoke with people both in the chat customer service and in the telephone customer service, and I noticed some problems. And just as background, in addition to that, about the topic, I want to explain that I have over 20 years of experience in customer service and related fields such as tech support, sales, education, and public speaking. So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. Additionally, in one of the jobs that I worked in, it was my responsibility when I wasn't getting help from the people that I was talking to on the phone that I had the right to escalate all the way up to the CEO of the company I was talking to if I was not being helped appropriately. And I did actually get as far as a VP on one occasion, at which point my supervisor pulled me aside and said, "What's going on? Why are you talking to a VP?" And I explained, he's like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm also, or rather, I used to be a programmer. I don't consider myself a programmer anymore, although I do understand programming. At my age, for some reason, my ability to keep information about programming in my head has been eroded severely. I tried to learn website development, and they told me I was advancing at a faster than average pace, which great, but I couldn't keep it in my head. And so I backed off of that opportunity at the time that they told me the opportunity was being pulled out from underneath my feet because, well, that's a separate story. It had nothing to do with my performance and everything to do with government rules. So here's what happened. Yesterday, my phone stopped working. At first, I couldn't get it to turn on. Because I was replacing the battery and something went awry during the battery replacement. I had to use a bunch of solvent to get rid of the glue that was holding the battery in place. And I think that some of the solvent may have gone where it wasn't supposed to go. And it was quite difficult to get the glue to let go. So eventually I got the phone working, but then it stopped working again. So I switched back to the original battery from Samsung, and it worked. And I tried the battery that had failed, and it worked, but I noticed that although I had fully charged it, it was down to 66%. And during that little experiment, it dropped to 0. Which implies the possibility that it had discharged all of its power rapidly into my phone, which is not good. So then I put the original phone back in the replacement battery back in. Like I said, things didn't go badly, or then they did. And then I put the original battery back in, and the screen wouldn't work. Yay. Yay. As if I don't have enough challenges already right now. I mean, seriously. No job, a bad catalytic converter. I need to sue Amazon and I can't find a lawyer, and so on. So yeah. And my dad died. All right. So I thought, dang it, I was going to use my son's phone. So I borrowed my son's phone, put my SIM card in there, I put my data card in there, and I thought, great, last night, and then this morning, I'm driving along and I'm going to do something with my phone while I'm waiting at a light, and it shows there's no signal and there's no SIM. I'm like, what's going on? So I turn it off, open it up, and my SIM is in there. I thought maybe I had forgotten. Yeah, I hadn't. So when I got home, I was preparing to call up the vendor who had sold my son his phone, which he had just gotten after his birthday last month. And as I was going online, opened up my email, and I see a message from my ISP. And they also provide me phone service in their Spectrum. And the message said that they had completed the transfer that I had requested, or someone had requested, and that if you didn't authorize a transfer, and it listed my phone number, and then there was a link to information about fraud. And that was all the information there was. And I was like, well, I didn't make a request. So I was thinking, oh my God, somebody did a SIM swap on me, which means they'll be able to get into my email accounts and so on and so forth, which can happen. And that is one of the ways that people get into a person's email account, is by doing a SIM swap, so that they can take your number and use it on their phone. And it said that a SIM card had been ordered in that email. And I was like, I didn't request a transfer. I didn't request a new card. So I was like, panicking a little bit. So I put off calling the vendor to call up Spectrum. But I can't call because the SIM card is not recognized. So I go to the Spectrum website. I get into chat. I start chatting with this customer service agent named Megan. And everything's going well. She lets me know, no, there wasn't a SIM swap. It's an automatic security feature that has been instituted by Spectrum, that when they digitally see that you've moved your phone SIM card to a different phone, they will issue this alert. But your account hasn't been hacked or anything like that, hasn't been taken over, nothing, which is such a relief, because identity fraud is another thing they can do when they steal your SIM, especially if a new SIM card has been issued. Right. So that was relief. And then she explained why my auto pay, I was getting a message when I logged into the website saying that my auto pay had been shut off. And I was like, I was really confused, because number one, they gave me 1 year free. So there's no need for auto pay. But to see that my auto pay has been turned off, it was like just adding fuel to the fire. So she explains that, you don't actually have autopay turned on right now, so it doesn't really make sense that I got a warning that autopay was turned off, because it had been turned off according to her since September. So it was okay, whew, what a relief. So then I started expressing to her my concern over the fact that the email was extremely vague and did not share appropriate information, like this is an automated message. This message was triggered by the fact that you moved your SIM card to another phone, which I would have been like, oh yeah, I did last night, and I wouldn't have had to bother them. So she said, I understand, and we're working on that, but we don't know when it's going to be resolved. I was like, okay. And then I just expressed a little bit more my concern and why I was concerned, not just for myself, but for other people. And she started debating me. And I was like, why are you arguing with me? And look, again, I've done a lot of customer service. And when somebody's debating you, the best way to piss them off, when somebody is sharing information with you, the best way to piss them off is to debate them. Don't do it. If you're ever in customer service of any kind, that includes tech support, if they're telling you something, debating with them is just going to piss them off, because it makes them feel invalidated. It makes them feel that you don't believe them. It makes them feel that you don't care. So I let it slide, and eventually she stopped, which was good, because if she hadn't stopped, that would have been very bad for her. Because I had already made up my mind that this person needed to get some constructive feedback, some up training to help her to better deal with a situation like I had put her into. And then after that, I continued to be nice to her. I was cracking jokes with her. And, but I, while we were waiting, because I told her I would like to speak to a manager, and she inquired as to why, and I explained. And I didn't tell her that I was going to talk to her manager about her mistake. I did tell her, however, and this is true, that, no, I'm not John Oliver, that I wanted to talk to somebody to try and get the correction of the emails expedited, because I have a lot of experience in customer service, and I feel sorry for all of those customer service people at Spectrum who have to deal with needless phone calls because somebody's too lazy to change the programming and the emails, which is where my prior experience in programming combined with the customer service really helps. And I also have experience in management, and that also helps. So, yeah, that, like I said, I did my best to make her laugh. I made, joke after joke, and she said, ha, ha, ha. I don't know if she was laughing or smiling because it was a chat conversation, but I presume that she was laughing because she didn't always respond to my jokes. So, yeah. Like one time she said, I'm still waiting on hold. And so I said, if I start falling asleep, I'll just pinch myself. And then I said, ow. And then later I said, zzz, oh, I wasn't sleeping. Because I had previously said I was counting digital sheep. And then the next time I said, bah. And then I said, translation, you're welcome. Because she'd said thank you, obviously. So I ended the conversation very nicely. At no point in the conversation was I mean or rude or anything. And so eventually, after I think about 10 minutes, I would read directly from you, but the website logged me out. I don't know if they keep chat messages intact or not. At this point, I'm kind of wondering. But I've had good and bad experiences with Spectrum in the past. I was fortunate when I was having some problems with the internet not working to speed. I did have the good fortune of working with a very patient and professional manager all the way through to the end. And then I asked to speak to his manager, and I gave him praise. Because that's what I do. When you need help, I ask for help for you. And when you deserve praise, I ask for praise for you. And I've done that many times over the years. So she put me on with somebody named Jamila. Now, Megan had said she was in upstate New York. I don't know why she told me that. Apparently, Spectrum's customer service teams handle the entire nation, which can provide a lot of interesting challenges because you're dealing with an entire nation of challenges. Some personal, some hardware, and so on and so forth. So she introduced herself, said she was a member of leadership, and so I asked her, "What is your rank or like role?" I thought of the wrong word. I said rank within leadership, and she refused to answer me. And so I asked again, and again she refused to answer me. Now, I'm not saying that she said I refused to answer, but her answers were, "I am a member of leadership." And I said, "I know, you already said that," or something to that effect. "I am a member of leadership. I am a member of leadership." And then she just stopped answering. And I said, "Why are you being evasive?" Because it didn't make sense. Again, I've been a customer service agent, a team lead, a supervisor, and a manager. So I didn't understand why she was being evasive, especially given that she's part of a chat team. You don't have to hear the person's voice. We can't yell at them or swear at them in a way that is going to raise their blood pressure and make them scared or angry. So, I mean, I could make excuses for her all day long, but in the end, it's not valid. because there's no reason to refuse to identify your role within the leadership team. Finally, I said, look, are you unequivocally stating that your organizational structure is flat? She refused to answer again. She ignored the question. So finally I said, look, if you're not going to cooperate with me, I'm going to have to file a complaint. And I asked for a manager, and she refused to give me a manager. That's a big mistake. That has not happened to me at very many companies. It has happened to me with Greyhound, who I will never use again. It has happened to me with Columbia, and I might someday be a customer of Columbia, but I'm still not so sure about that. Most companies I deal with, when I ask for a manager, they give me a manager. And she refused. Bad move. So I said, look, okay, Jamila, I just want to let you know, I'm going to file a complaint against you. And I am going to also go on social media and go on Trustpilot and the Better Business Bureau and let other people know that this is what happened, because this is not okay. And she said, she came back with this very peppy, professional response, just kind of like blowing it all off in the nicest possible way, without admitting any wrongdoing, without saying sorry or whatever. And it was like, on the one hand, I had to admire her because she was professional, even when she was being evasive, aside from the evasiveness, and ignoring questions. Other than that, everything she wrote was professional in the tone, not the behavior, but the tone. But on the other hand, there was her behavior, which was unnecessary. So Megan had given me the option of, you can talk to one of my leadership people in chat, or you can call this, I'm getting warm, this phone number. Oh my God, where's my hair? And so I thought, well, I'm not getting anywhere with Jamila, and I'm certainly not going to trust her to handle the issues that I had with the email and with Megan if I can't even get her to answer a simple question. And maybe she was afraid that I wouldn't want to talk to her because she's only a team lead. Because that's what I knew she was. I knew she was a team lead. Because when you ask for a supervisor, they're not going to give you to a supervisor if there's a team lead sitting there. They will give you to a team lead every single time, because there are way more team leads than there are supervisors. And there are way more supervisors than managers. And there aren't that many supervisors, so there are almost no managers. And in some places, there literally are no managers, especially if it's an outsourced department, like when I had that experience with Columbia. So I got on the phone, got an agent on the phone, and she verified my account. And then she asked me, and I told her I want to talk to a manager, and she asked me why. And I said, well, I need to file a complaint. And I gave her some details because she asked, and I made it brief because I don't want to spend a long time talking with a rep. Reps cannot help. Nice people maybe, but they have no power. So she gave me to somebody whose name was Carrie Ann. And I said, what is your role within leadership? And she said, I'm a team lead. And I said, thank you. And I was happy. That's all I wanted to know, was what the person's role was, because that helps me to understand what they can and cannot do, how much power they actually have to change things. Team leads have about 1 iota more than agents. Yeah, it can be frustrating. So only really, supervisors don't have a lot of power either. They're really fairly constrained by the rules. It's only once you get to like a manager and above that you can actually talk to somebody who has some power to make changes. But that's okay, because I follow the chain of command, because that's what I learned when I was in customer service doing escalations. You follow the chain of command. You don't jump right to the top. That's unreasonable. I mean, literally, it's unreasonable. because you never know, someone in between might have the power you need to get this thing done for you. And you may be wrong too, or just not informed. So I told Carrie Ann what had happened with Megan, and she said that she sent feedback to her team to give her some up training. And then I told her what happened with Jamila and why I was concerned about that, and why I was concerned about the fact that both of them had been a problem. And she sent feedback for Jamila as well. And then I said I would like, and I also talked about the problem with the poor wording of the email and why that's important. And I feel bad for everybody in customer service because the failings of management and I guess the programming team are impacting the customer service team, which is often the case in these kinds of circumstances. So then I said, and I would like it very much if a manager from the chat team could call me back to confirm with me that the issues I had with Megan and Jamila were actually addressed. And she said, well, usually I can tell you that I have submitted the feedback and that they will get the feedback, but usually we do not involve the customer in that situation. And I tried to reword it because it was clear to me that she was misunderstanding. She thought I wanted to know all the little details, and she said it's private. And I was like, and she misunderstood again. And it was clear to me from her response, even though I had told her I wanted a little clarification, because she had said, we usually do not provide like a callback, follow-up on situations like that. Usually, which is not the same as we do not provide follow-up on situations like that. The first sentence means sometimes you do. The second sentence means you never do. Even though she didn't say, wouldn't have said, we never, right? Because it's not polite. So they say, we do not, instead of we never. Because it never is just too strong of a word, and some people will get upset about it. And while I understand that that's their policy, I don't like it. And it wasn't going to be any, a big deal. And so it was. She then said, you can pick apart my words and criticize me if you want. That's fine, but it's not going to change it. And blah blah blah. And it's like. I said, look, it seems to me that there's been a misunderstanding, that you have misunderstood what I was saying, and I'm just asking for clarification from that team. I'm not asking to know all the details. I don't want to know the details, and I appreciate, and I think that the privacy thing is correct, but I only want to know that the feedback has been given. At which point she said, we do not. And anyways, she said we do not, and I said, and that's when I said, well, I think I need to ask you, was it we do not or we don't usually? And then she said, you're picking apart my words and criticizing. And I said, no, I'm just trying to get clarification. It has nothing to do with you. I'm not criticizing you. I wanted to understand which statement was correct. And so she said, nope, it is never. We never do that. So she said, you can talk, I can transfer you to somebody above me, but they're going to tell you the same thing. At that point, I was fed up. Not because Carrie Ann was unprofessional. I mean, she was very professional, except for when she misunderstood and accused me of picking apart her words and criticizing her. But other than that, she was fine. And I repeatedly made it clear to her that it wasn't about her. It was about what happened in chat. And it was the email. But I shouldn't have to do that. If she's a team lead, she should have done better than that. And for her to discourage me from talking to a manager by saying, the manager is just going to tell you the same thing, or supervisor, whatever it was, that to me is a negative indicator. Either she's correct, or she knows that the manager might say something differently and she doesn't want that to happen. At this point, I assume that she was correct. But also, I just didn't want to go through it anymore. I had already wasted enough time. That was my time was lost on that, and now this video, because a team leader failed to do her job correctly, and an agent failed to do her job correctly, and an email caused all of this. All of it. I still would have had to contact them because the SIM wasn't working until it worked. So, that's what Megan fixed. The SIM works now. So, I can actually make phone calls and receive text messages. So, if you are a member of management of Spectrum, I implore you, please work on the skill sets of your team and tell them to not be evasive, because it just makes them look like politicians and con artists. And tell them not to debate with a customer when the customer is expressing their concerns and their feelings. It doesn't work. It never works. Now, I try to be very patient with customer service people. I try to be nice to them because I've done that work a lot. But that doesn't excuse this kind of misconduct. So please, Spectrum, do better. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.